So welcome to the Business Spotlight, where today the spotlight is shining on Simon Heap from the Fastline Group. Welcome, Simon, to the Business Spotlight.
Thank you, Nell.
Thank you very much for being here. So to start us off with, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how long you've been in business for, please.
Okay, well, I'm affectionately known as Simo, everybody's favourite Australian.
Love that.
So, behind Kylie and Bouncer the dog from Neighbours, of course.
Obviously. In my head, I was already going, what other famous Australians do I really know? I wasn't getting much further than Kylie, but there we are.
I immigrated over here about 15, 16 years ago.
Okay.
And I run a company called Fastline Group, which is the leading global aftermarket go-kart parts specialist. So I help kart track owners keep their karts on the track for less.
Okay.
And we have about 1,500 customers in 114 different countries now.
Wow, that's amazing. Well done.
Thank you.
How long have you been? Did you start the business when you moved to the UK?
No, so the business was started about 2006 in Australia.
Okay.
And we were just servicing the Oceania area, so Australia, New Zealand, basically.
Okay.
And at the time, we were distributing a German brand of go-karts. And we got the opportunity to distribute them in the UK.
Right.
And I jumped at the opportunity and uprooted my wife and my six-month-old daughter and moved to the UK. My parents were already living here, so it wasn't
right.
a complete uproot.
Okay.
Sorry, I just had someone come in.
Funny that, isn't it? Love it.
We had the opportunity to move over here because Australia takes 12 hours to get halfway to anywhere. And I kind of say it's the arse end of the world for if you want to do a global business.
Right.
So you moved here, started to expand our marketplace, and ended up closing down the Australian operations and just running it all from here. It was just so much easier.
Fair enough. Is running a business something that you had always wanted to do as a kid? How did you get started?
Oh, geez, I got roped into this.
Fabulous. Tell me more.
So back in Australia, I was a best-selling business book author.
Now tell me more.
And I was in a bit of a career rut, and I decided to go and do it. I'd go and do an MBA. Probably not a great thing to do, but I went and did an MBA, and my strategy professor was writing a book, which I offered to help research, and it was based on, we were basically doing a Jim Collins version of Good to Great.
Yeah.
No, Built to Last, sorry, his first book.
First book.
So we took that that process he'd done for the Built to Last and applied it to Australian companies. And I was so involved in the research that I eventually became a co-author. We had 2 editions of that book, and it was an Australian bestseller. So
well done.
I decided that I wanted to be the Tom Peters of Australia. And I threw myself into that and was on the speaking circuit. I was doing some consulting work for some top 50 Australian companies and things like this about how to apply. The first 11 was the book title, so how to apply the first 11 principles. And then the Fastline opportunity came up. It was an opportunity to have a business in Australia and a business in the UK, which the family had always looked at.
Okay.
So I was brought in to check it out. And I'm the last man standing. So my father's retired, basically. My brother is in Australia doing something else.
Okay.
And I'm left with Fastline. So, which I don't regret, because it's been an absolute joy growing this business from nothing to servicing clients, 114 countries.
Yeah.
Turning over in excess of £1 million business each year.
Fantastic. So what are some of the challenges that you've had as a business over all these years?
So supply lines.
Okay.
I was only speaking to my Chinese office this morning, and I was reminded that 9 years ago, I established the office in China. So about 10 years ago, we started to look at sourcing out of the Far East. And I made a trip over there. And eventually joined an office with another bunch of UK companies, and started sourcing stuff out of China. That was a real game changer for us. Most of the people within the industry, if they're buying from the Far East, they're buying from Alibaba. They sit on the comfort of their own sofa and they buy from Alibaba, which is not a great way to do it.
Okay.
It took me several years to understand how the whole Far Eastern supply chain worked. But you've basically got manufacturers and you've got trading companies. Trading companies don't make anything, but they're like a distributor.
Okay.
And it turns out they've got no control over the quality of the product. So if you want to get the best out of the Far East, and there's the good, the bad, and the ugly in the Far East. I mean,
as always, I would imagine.
Apple make their products there. So it took some time to understand who are the best players, and find them, and then work with them to improve the product so it withstood the rigors of rental karting. So that was a big challenge.
I can imagine.
And then trying to manage the cash flow and the production time, because it can take anywhere from 2 to 5 months from order to delivery.
Yeah.
So you really need to be on top of your demand levels.
Yeah.
And your cash flow. So that was a challenging environment.
I can imagine.
Of course, the last 2 years have been extremely challenging. But we did some interesting things there. Just before we went into the first lockdown, we had taken the stance that we wanted to become more of a leader in the industry, and we wanted to make the industry more professional. The rental go-karting, there's a lot of ma and pa operations, and you go to any of these rental karting trade shows and that there's no educational components and things like this.
Right.
So about 4 years, nearly 5 years ago, we started a monthly newsletter, which we mail out to everyone.
Nice.
That is all about how to grow your business.
Okay.
Getting more bums on seats.
Yep.
How to improve your Google rankings, how to better your marketing, things like this. And in 2020, January 2020, we had our first ever Fastline karting spectacular, which was at the time a one-day educational event where we brought go-kart track owners from around the world together in Frankfurt, Germany. Which was a tremendous success. It's the first time it had ever been done. And then COVID hit. Shortly thereafter, I mean, February, I think I spent like 10 times a day. I'd be on the phone to some go-kart track owner somewhere around the world. It's like, this COVID thing, what is it? How are we going to protect that business against it? And you know, after about a week of this, I turned around and shot a video and wrote a risk assessment and gave it out to all my customers.
Nice.
Here's how to mitigate the risks for COVID.
Yeah.
And then, of course, what happened was the world started to shut down, and it was a terrible time, because I can remember I was daily on my sales team. Right, what country shut down? You know, right, move to the next one, and we were hopping around the world.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Trying to keep the money coming in, and all I could see was the writing on the wall. It's like, shit, how am I going to pay these guys?
Yeah.
How am I going to keep this business afloat? And there were 2 days when it was inevitable that we were going to run out of money. There was this time Boris hadn't, you know, offered
announced anything. Yeah.
But it was like, I'm sitting there going, I've got 10 families here that are going to lose their job. They could lose the roof over their head, and they could lose, you know, be on the breadline.
Yeah.
Luckily, Boris, the government, stepped in and offered furlough. Yeah. Which was a great relief to me. So from that point, I sort of went on and said, right, I'll see this as an opportunity. I am going to stand out the front of the market and help my customers through this.
Nice.
So we instituted a series of weekly Zoom call meetings. So every Thursday at 6 p.m, I would have kart track owners from around the world come into my study, the spare bedroom at home.
Of course. My new office.
Yeah. And we would talk about what was happening, what we could do. Nice. We took a very positive approach, because people being social people, we said, look, you can't lock people up for 3 months without them coming out and wanting one hell of a party. Correct. And we just helped work them through, which really built our credibility in the market. And of course, before we reopened, I'd done a series of videos on how to protect your staff, protect your customers, and run your operations. Nice. And you know, we helped a lot of people through that, and it has elevated our stance in the industry. You know, I get a lot of people coming to me for advice. I'm like, Christ, when it started to open up the first time, I'd be getting calls from someone, can I open up, Simo? It's like, what are you doing asking me? So, okay, hang on a minute. Let me read what Boris has said. Right?
Let's see what it says at your government's.
I said, okay, I think you can. Right, here's how we'll play it. It's better to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission, because nobody is going to put their head in the noose and say, yes, you can open in a pandemic. So, you know, that's how we played it. But it was quite interesting. And of course, we've gone on from there. We do a weekly YouTube video show, the Fastline Track Growth Show, where we talk about all things karting and business, and you know, help people grow their track. I've just come back from Dortmund, Germany, where we had our second Fastline karting spectacular. It was a 2-day affair.
Nice, expanded already.
Yeah, and so we had a kart race to see who the fastest go-kart track on the planet was. nearly ended in disaster.
That sounds like for a different conversation.
Yeah, we had our spectacular again, and we introduced the first ever International Rental Karting Awards dinner, where we gave away 8 different awards. Nice. to show our appreciation and publicize some of the great stuff our customers and the industry is doing out there.
Yeah, bit of recognition is always great, right?
Yeah. So
love that. What would be, if you were to start a business now, start again knowing what you know now, what would you do differently?
Geez. I'd probably document everything from the onstart.
Nice.
Right. Document how your systems work.
Yeah.
How your processes work. Because to go back and do that now is just so difficult.
Yeah. It's always harder, isn't it?
So much work. I would market a lot more.
Okay.
I send out weekly emails, nurturing emails. It's not your run of the mill. Oh, buy my helmets. They're great value, and they come in 3 different colors. It's they're entertaining and engaging to read. So I would do that. So I'm foremost in front of my customers.
Okay. As a business owner, what still keeps you awake at night?
What's the number one thing that keeps business owners awake at night?
You tell me.
Bloody staff.
They're watching this.
I know. I mean, they're great. It's training them, engaging with them, making sure they're all on the same page. And at the moment, trying to bloody find them.
Yes, that's a big challenge. That's true.
Whenever you talk to business owners, staff, there's always some sort of issue.
Okay. Love that answer. I never want to presume, right? I could have given you probably 3 answers to that, but that definitely was one of the 3. Where do you see your industry going in the next 5 years?
I see a couple of things. 3 things happening. In particular, there is room for consolidation. Okay. So at the moment, you've got, most of them are 1 venue operations. You've got a couple that are multi-venues.
Right.
And you probably got 2 players that are starting to build like a large multi-venue. You've got K1 Speed in the States, who's starting to go international. I think they've got about 50 odd venues. Okay. And you've got Team Sport in the UK, which is about 35 venues, and they've just put their first venue in Germany.
Right.
So there's room for consolidation.
Okay.
I think there's going to be, I know there's going to be a trend to more of an entertainment destination.
Right.
So probably the majority of the tracks around the world now are go-kart only or predominantly go-karting tracks. Whereas in America, you find they're more family entertainment centers with a go-kart track. They've got bowling, they've got a restaurant, they've got arcade games, they've got VR machines, laser tag, all sorts of other things. And I think that will be more the trend, and the single purpose go-kart tracks, I think, will start to fade away.
Right.
unless they start to providing a entertainment destination where you could take the family. And I guess the third thing that will happen is the carts themselves will move towards electric carts.
Okay.
At the moment it's predominantly petrol carts, or gas for my American cousins. And electric carts are about 4 times more expensive because they're twice the price, and you need twice as many. So there is some significant barriers at the moment, and in most parts of the world, the drive to go to electric carts is predominantly being driven by legislation, noise legislation, or in California, you just can't start a go-kart center unless it's electric.
Right.
America's slightly different because they're going for these multi-entertainment centers, destinations. They're going electric because it's quieter and it's cleaner. You don't have to going around, and you don't have that noise of an engine revving where you're having to shout in your friend's ear just to be heard. But over time, the technology will get better. The batteries will last longer. You'll be able to ride the carts for longer. And the technology will come down.
So what kind of challenges does that provide for your business? Like, what can you already see is going to be something that you've got to be either aware of or adapt to?
Well, being an aftermarket parts supplier, you know, I supply a really good range of petrol engine parts.
Okay.
So, you know, that is going to be eroded away. And I'm going to have to adapt and, I guess, move into the electric space. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that yet. I'm just sort of waiting for it to settle a bit. I mean, there's been such drastic changes, and it's not like it hasn't settled, and there's no sort of standard. Everybody's doing their own little thing. And I'm just waiting to see how that pans out. And then I'll know how I step into the industry, how do I step into that bit of the market.
Because it potentially comes back for you to that supply situation we talked about earlier, where again, for you, this is a change in your supply chain, right?
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's a major change. I mean, the engine parts is a significant chunk of our revenue. You know, so
huge.
You know, I know that's going to be eroded over time. So I need to do something else, and also we're looking at other avenues that we can increase our product and service offering.
Nice. What or who do you find inspiring? So as a business owner, who or what do you look up to? Where do you get your inspiration from?
You're asking about my secret sauce.
Wow, you know, you reveal as much or as little as you want, Simon.
I'm a big reader. You know, I chew through books, though that's sort of slowed down during COVID and after COVID. I think it's because I don't travel as much. You know, when I was traveling a lot, it's lots of time to read. But I'm a big fan of Dan Kennedy.
All right, okay.
So you know, I like that sort of stuff. I'm just trying to think Who else at the moment? It's I've got a crush on Dan Kennedy.
Okay, got a crush. I love the fact that you know that you can own up to that you have a crush on him. That's fabulous.
Well, yeah, I've
Like
got a
snipping that
stack
out.
of books that I've been reading and I've got to read. I've got a stack of books this high at home.
Oh.
Yeah, I've got wonderful electric lights that
Yeah.
don't stay on. I've got a stack of books about this high at home. And the majority of them are Dan Kennedy.
Okay.
So
Fabulous. Love that. What advice would you give your 18-year-old self if you were able to travel back?
Don't go to university. Did I really say that?
Ooh, no, yeah, that's all right. I love that.
I mean, I've got an economics degree. I've got a grad dip in marketing. I've got an MBA, and I'm halfway through a DBA. All useless, pretty much.
Okay.
I mean, they've taught me how to study, how to research something. But the marketing I learned, it was crap.
Do you ever use it in business?
I use marketing all the time.
Yeah, but the stuff you learn at university, do you
No.
use it on a day-to-day basis?
No, God, I would have failed if I had presented some of the stuff I've done. You know, my English teacher, she's probably not dead yet, but if she was, she'd be rolling around in the grave the way I write emails. I write them like I talk, but they're easy to read.
Yep.
You know,
love it. My
mum gets hold of my social media posts and tells me off for my don't worry, mum.
It's fine. People have got this.
Yeah, it's cool. It got more views than the last one, so I'm happy.
I love that. What do you still want to achieve in the next 5 years? And I mean you, not the business, you.
I want to grow the business. I want to grow the business so it can provide me with more of a lifestyle that I would like. And I want to have the business have less reliance upon myself.
Okay.
You know, so I can go off and do more of the things I want. So
okay. Love that answer, actually. Last question. What would you say to anyone who's starting a business now or thinking about starting a business now? What's your top piece of advice?
I think it's like, well, just go for it. You know, don't be scared to fail, because if you do fail, you're just one step closer to success.
Okay.
Yeah, and just try a lot of stuff and keep what works and throw out the rest of it, you know.
I love that. Do you regret starting a business? Sorry, I did say that was the last question, but that's now where my head goes.
Do I regret starting a business? I guess there are times.
Okay.
Not so much these days. I think I've got an understanding on what I want from the business, where I want to go with the business, and how I'm going to achieve that. So, you know, there's not many days that I'm out of love with my business.
What a beautiful sentiment to end on. Let's leave that there. Simon, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your story with us today. Absolutely love that. The link to connect with Simon will be in the section below, in the comment section below. So by all means, reach out with any further questions. And thank you very much for watching this Business Spotlight. Until next time.
Thanks very much for having me, Nell.
Thank you.